Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Friendship Chronicles, where we dive deep into all things friendship. I'm Alex, your host for today.
And I'm Sarah, your co host, best friend, and partner in crime. We're super excited for this episode because today we're talking about something near and dear to both of our hearts: best friends.
That's right, it's a conversation we've both had a million times in real life. But today we're opening it up for all of you to join. Whether you've got that one ride or die best friend, or you're still searching for that person, today's episode is all about what makes the best friend bond so unique and special.
We'll be covering the highs, the lows, and everything in between. From how we met to why best friends play such a crucial role in our lives, and even some of the challenges that come with being someone's number one confidant.
So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So, Sarah, let's start at the beginning. We've been best friends for what now? 10 years?
Oh, definitely over a decade at this point. It's funny because I can remember exactly how we met. It was such a random encounter, but looking back, it feels like fate, you know?
Totally. I remember too. We were at that friend of a friend party, right? You had just moved to the city and you knew, like, no one.
Right. I was so nervous. I didn't know how to break into conversations or find my place in this new social circle. But then I saw you across the room and you had this hilarious t shirt on. What did it say again?
Oh, the one with the cartoon cat that said, I don't always people, but when I do, I avoid them. It was my go to party shirt at the time.
Exactly. And I was like, that person gets me. It was an instant click from the moment we started talking. I think that's one of the magical things about best friends. It doesn't take long to realize you've found your person.
For sure. And I think that's something worth talking about the way best friendships just happen. There's usually that one moment where you're like, yep, this is it. This is my best friend. For us, it wasn't even a super deep conversation at first. We were just riffing off each other's jokes, and I felt like I'd known you forever.
Exactly. I feel like with a best friend, it's less about sharing every single interest and more about finding someone who just clicks with you on a vibe level. Like, we don't have to be into the same movies or music, though, let's be real, we do have a ton of shared interests. But it's more about having that emotional wavelength where you just get each other.
Yeah, it's almost like having your own personal translator in life. You can say something that might not make sense to anyone else, but your best friend knows exactly what you mean. And sometimes you don't even have to speak. I know when you're having a rough day without you even telling me. It's like best friends have this invisible radar for each other's moods.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about being there for the fun times. I think the true test of a best friend bond is how well you navigate the tough stuff. Remember that period a few years back when I was going through my job loss? It was a really dark time for me, but you were right there through all of it.
That was such a hard time, but honestly, I wouldn't have been anywhere else. You were dealing with a lot, emotionally, mentally, and I remember thinking, how can I show up in the way you need? I think that's another core thing about best friendships. It's not always about what you think is helpful, but really trying to tune in to what they need.
I think you nailed that, though. You didn't try to fix it, which I think a lot of people instinctively do when their friends are hurting. You just were there. Sometimes all I needed was someone to sit with me in silence or let me vent without offering solutions. That, for me, solidified that you weren't just a friend. You were the friend.
I remember feeling like it wasn't about saying the perfect thing, but just showing up. That's such an underrated part of friendship, just being there. I think the pressure to have the right advice or always be the one to make things better can actually get in the way sometimes. Like, it's okay to just listen.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, being someone's best friend means knowing when to not push, but also knowing when to give them that little nudge. I remember there were days you gave me tough love when I needed it. Like when you called me out for spiraling too deep into self pity. And it's not like I was mad. I knew you were coming from a place of love.
Yeah, and that's the tricky balance, right? You want to support them, but you also know them so well that you can tell when they're stuck in a pattern that isn't helping. With best friends, it's about trust. You trust that when I'm being tough on you, it's out of love. And when I'm being soft, it's because I feel like that's what you need.
I think that's something only best friends can do. Hold up a mirror in a way that's both honest and kind. Like, I trust you to tell me when I'm being unreasonable or when I'm overthinking something, but I also trust that you're never going to judge me for it.
100%. Best friends give you that space to be imperfect. I've never felt like I had to pretend with you or put on some facade. You've seen me at my best, my worst, and everything in between. I think that's why we've lasted so long. There's no performance. It's just real, raw, and unfiltered.
Yes, that's one of the things I cherish most about our friendship. There's this safety in being able to be fully myself without worrying about judgment or rejection. And you're right, it's not always pretty. Sometimes life is messy, and we're both a bit of a hot mess, but we're always in it together.
And it's not just about handling the serious stuff either. Best friends are also the ones you have the most fun with. Some of our best memories are from the most ridiculous, spontaneous moments, like that road trip we took with zero planning.
Oh my God, yes. That trip was chaos from start to finish. We had no map, no real idea of where we were going, but we laughed the entire time. I think we got lost at least 3 times, and don't even get me started on that sketchy motel we stayed in.
That place was like something straight out of a horror movie. But we were so delirious from laughing, it didn't even matter. Those are the moments that make me think, yeah, this is what friendship is about. It's not about how perfect everything is, it's about how much fun you can have, even when things go sideways.
Exactly. Best friends are the ones you want to call when things are going wrong because you know they'll make you laugh through the madness. And on the flip side, they're also the first person you want to celebrate with when things go right.
Oh, for sure. Like, when you got your new job after that rough patch, I think I was as excited as you were, if not more. That's another thing about best friendships. Your wins feel like our wins, and your losses feel like our losses too.
Totally. It's that sense of shared joy and shared pain. When something amazing happens in your life, I don't feel envious or left out. I feel genuinely happy for you because it's like I'm celebrating my own success. And when something tough happens, I feel it just as deeply as if it were happening to me.
That's something that can be rare, even in close friendships. Not everyone is able to fully share in another person's emotions like that. But I think with a best friend, you're so in sync that it becomes second nature. I can tell when something's up with you even before you say a word.
And I feel the same about you. We've had moments where we don't even need to speak, and we just know what the other is thinking. It's like we have our own unspoken language.
Totally. And honestly, that's why I feel so grateful for this friendship. It's like having a built in support system, a cheerleader, a therapist, and a partner in crime all in one person.
It's a privilege, honestly. I think sometimes we forget just how lucky we are to have someone who's got our back through thick and thin. Not everyone has that, and it's something I never take for granted.
Same here. It's easy to assume that close friendships will always be there, but they require effort too. We've both put time and energy into making sure our bond stays strong, even when life gets busy or we're dealing with our own stuff.
Yeah, and that's key. Friendships, especially best friendships, take intentionality. It's about checking in, making time for each other, and being willing to have tough conversations when needed. We've had our disagreements, but we always work through them because we both value this friendship so much.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding conflict, it's about navigating it together. I think our willingness to talk things out and not let stuff fester is one of the reasons we've lasted this long as best friends.
Definitely. It's that combination of honesty, trust, and a shared sense of humor that keeps things going strong. Plus, we both know how to have a good time, whether it's binge watching our favorite shows or going on another spontaneous adventure.
Oh, we've got plenty of adventures left in us. I'm already planning our next one in my head.
You know I'm always down. Let's just make sure we have a map this time.
You know, thinking about how long we've been best friends really makes me appreciate all the little moments that built up over the years. I mean, It's easy to highlight the big stuff, like moving to new cities, new jobs, or breakups. But what really defines our friendship are the small, everyday things.
Oh, yeah. Those small moments matter so much more than people think. Like when we'd stay up late, just talking about random things. Everything from our dreams to completely nonsensical stuff. It's funny, but I think those are the moments where the bond really strengthens. Not when things are intense or dramatic, but in those calm, in between times.
Exactly. Those quiet moments. Like, remember when we used to grab coffee at that little cafe every Sunday morning? It wasn't even about the coffee or the place, it was about having that time set aside to just catch up. We could talk for hours about everything and nothing, and somehow, I always left those chats feeling lighter.
Oh my God, yes. That cafe was our sanctuary. It was just a little hole in the wall place, but it became so much more than that. It was like our weekly ritual, just sitting there, sipping coffee, and knowing that no matter what was going on in life, we'd always have that time together. It's like we were building our friendship brick by brick. And those moments were the foundation.
Totally. And I think that's the thing about best friendships. They're built on consistency, even in the smallest ways. Like, you know that person will show up, even when life gets crazy. You don't always need grand gestures or big conversations. Sometimes it's just about being there.
Yes, exactly. Best friendships thrive on showing up, even if it's just to binge watch Netflix or sit in comfortable silence. I think people sometimes underestimate the power of just being present with each other. Like, we don't have to be doing anything monumental to feel connected. Sometimes the most meaningful connections happen when you're just sitting together, being yourselves.
100%. Remember that time we both had the worst week ever, and instead of doing something productive, we just sat in my apartment eating takeout and watching the most ridiculous reality TV? It wasn't about solving our problems. It was about being there for each other and sharing the weight of the week.
Oh, yeah, I remember. We both felt so drained, but after a few hours of just chilling out, I felt like I could face the world again. That's another thing about best friends. They're like your emotional reset button. You might not fix anything in that moment, but just being with them makes things seem more manageable.
Absolutely. Best friends don't always have to be the ones with the answers. They're just the ones who stick around while you figure things out. I think that's a huge part of what makes the relationship so special. You don't always need to be on for each other, if that makes sense. Like, there's no pressure to perform or be perfect. You can just be.
And that's so rare, you know? Like in so many relationships, whether it's with family, coworkers, or even casual friends, there's this underlying pressure to be put together all the time. But with your best friend, there's this understanding that you can show up however you are, whether you're happy, sad, tired, or even just completely lost.
Exactly. It's like, with you, I never feel like I have to put on a mask. I can come to you with my messiest emotions or my silliest thoughts, and I know you'll get it. That kind of unconditional acceptance, that's priceless.
And it goes both ways, too. Like, when you're going through something, I don't feel the need to fix it. I just want to be there with you, wherever you are, and support you. Sometimes that's all we really need from our best friends. Not solutions, but companionship.
That's so true. I think that's why our friendship has survived so many changes over the years. Different jobs, relationships, even living in different cities at times. It's because we've always made space for each other, no matter what else was going on.
Oh my gosh, yes. And let's talk about that for a minute. The whole living in different cities thing. I remember when I first moved away for that job, I was so scared that the distance would change things between us. But honestly, it only made our bond stronger.
Totally. It was like, even though we weren't physically together, we still made the effort to stay connected. The FaceTime calls, the late night texts, the random voice notes. We made it work because we wanted to. That's the thing about best friendships. They're resilient. Distance can't break them as long as both people are committed to staying in each other's lives.
Exactly. I think what's amazing is that we didn't have to be in constant communication for me to feel like you were still there for me. Some days we didn't talk at all, and that was okay. There was always this unspoken understanding that no matter how much time passed, we'd pick up right where we left off.
That's one of my favorite things about our friendship. We can go a while without talking, and when we do reconnect, it's like no time has passed. It's seamless. I think that's a true marker of a deep bond. You don't need constant validation to know it's solid.
Yes, it's that whole concept of low maintenance, but in the best way possible. It's like our friendship doesn't require constant upkeep to stay strong. We both trust that the foundation is there. So when life gets busy or overwhelming, we know we're still in each other's corner, even if we're not talking every day.
And I think that's super important as you get older. Life gets complicated work, relationships, family, all of it. But with a best friend, there's this beautiful flexibility. You can adapt to each other's changing schedules and priorities, and it doesn't lessen the bond. In fact, I think it deepens it. I think it
100%. We've grown so much as individuals over the years, and our friendship has evolved with us. It's like we're not the same people we were when we first met, but our bond has only gotten stronger because we've allowed each other the space to grow and change.
right. It's like, I'm not just friends with who you were 10 years ago. I'm friends with who you are now, and I'll be friends with who you'll become. That's the beauty of it. We grow, and our friendship grows with us.
And that's why I think best friendships are so rare. It's not just about having fun together or being there in the tough times. It's about growing alongside each other and staying connected, even as life pulls you in different directions.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the change and the growth, both in yourself and in your friend. And that's not always easy. Sometimes people grow apart as they evolve, and that's okay. But when you have a best friend who can grow with you, that's something to cherish.
Exactly. And I think what's kept us so close is our ability to communicate, even through the hard stuff. Like, we've had those moments where we didn't see eye to eye, but we always talked it out. We never let things fester.
Yeah, we're pretty good at that. I remember one of the first serious conversations we had. It was about something really trivial, but it bothered me. And instead of brushing it off, we actually sat down and talked about it. And that set the tone for our friendship moving forward. We learned how to be honest with each other without fear.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was such a small thing, but you're right. It did set the tone. From that point on, we knew we could bring anything to the table and it wouldn't break us. That kind of openness is so important in any relationship, but especially in a best friendship.
Definitely. It's funny how the small moments end up being the most defining ones. Like, you don't always realize it at the time, but those little decisions, to be honest, to show up, to make time, they all add up to something so much bigger.
They really do. It's the small, consistent choices that create the foundation of a best friendship. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable.
I couldn't agree more. I'm really grateful we've had this conversation. It's easy to take a friendship like ours for granted because it's been so consistent. But talking about it like this makes me appreciate it even more.
Same here. It's nice to reflect on how far we've come and how much we've grown together. I feel really lucky to have a best friend like you.
Oh, same. All right, enough of the mushy stuff. What's our next adventure? We're overdue for something spontaneous.
Oh, don't worry. I've got a few ideas up my sleeve. You ready for a road trip round two with maybe a bit more planning this time?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Just no creepy motels this time. It's funny, we keep talking about all these adventures and moments from the past, but I can't help but think about what lies ahead for us. Like, what's next for us as best friends? I mean, life keeps changing, and I can only imagine the things we'll experience together over the next decade.
Oh man, that's such a good point. I think about that a lot, too. I feel like we've been through so many different phases of life already. Everything from those carefree early 20s days to now, where we're navigating adult responsibilities. But there's still so much ahead of us, you know? I wonder what the next chapter will look like.
Totally. And it's not just about the big life events, but also about how our friendship itself will evolve. Like, will we stay close in the same way? Or will we find new ways to connect as our lives continue to shift?
Honestly, I feel like we're pretty adaptable. We've already seen each other through so many transitions, graduations, new jobs, moving to different cities. And somehow, through all of that, we've stayed connected. I think that's a good sign that whatever comes next, we'll figure it out together.
Definitely. And I think it's cool that we've never been afraid to talk about the changes in our lives or how they might affect us. Like, we're both aware that life is unpredictable, but we've made a conscious effort to keep each other in the loop.
Yes, that's so important. Like when I was thinking about going back to school, I knew it was going to be a major time commitment. And I remember feeling a little worried about how it might change things between us. But you were so supportive, and we found a way to still stay connected, even when I was knee deep in textbooks.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And honestly, I think that's another key to keeping a best friendship strong. You've got to be willing to support each other's growth, even when it means you might not have as much time together. Life gets busy, and it's easy to lose touch if you don't prioritize the friendship.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, every time one of us grows or changes, it actually adds more depth to our friendship. Like when you started your side hustle, I loved hearing about how passionate you were about it. Even though it took up more of your time, I felt like I got to know a new side of you, and that was really exciting.
Oh, yeah, that was a big change for me. I remember feeling nervous about whether I'd have enough time for everything my job, my side project, and our friendship. But you never made me feel guilty about it. You always encouraged me to go for it, and that made a huge difference.
That's what best friends do, right? We want each other to succeed, even if it means things shift a little. I think that's why we've been able to grow together over the years. We don't hold each other back or cling to how things used to be. We embrace the change and support each other through it.
For sure. And it makes me excited for the future, honestly. Like, think about all the milestones still ahead, whether it's career changes, maybe even starting families or moving to new places. It's kind of wild to think about how much our lives will keep evolving.
Yeah, and who knows what new adventures we'll end up on. I mean, we've already done so much together, but I feel like we're just getting started. There's always something new around the corner, whether it's personal growth or some crazy idea we come up with on a random Tuesday.
Oh, we're going to keep coming up with those. I've already got a list of things I want us to try. But beyond the fun stuff, I'm also really looking forward to seeing how our friendship deepens as we navigate the more serious parts of life. Like, we've already been there for each other through some tough times, but I think as we get older, those challenges might become more complex.
That's true. I think we'll face things like aging parents, health challenges, or maybe even harder career decisions. And while those things are tough, I find comfort in knowing I'll have you by my side through it all. It's like we've been training for this, you know? We've built up all this trust and resilience in our friendship, so I feel like we can handle anything that comes our way.
I love that perspective. It's like we've laid such a strong foundation over the years that no matter what life throws at us, we'll figure it out together. And honestly, having a best friend through the more serious stuff makes it all feel a little less daunting.
Exactly. We've already proven that we can handle the ups and downs, so I feel like the future, no matter how unpredictable, is something we'll tackle together. It's not just about the fun times, it's about having that person who will walk with you through every season of life, even the hard ones.
That's so true. I mean, we talk a lot about the fun and spontaneous moments, but some of the most important parts of our friendship have been when things weren't so great, like when we've had to deal with losses or setbacks. Those moments really test the strength of any relationship.
For sure. I think those harder moments are when you realize how deep the connection goes. It's easy to be there for the good times, but the true test is how you show up when things fall apart. And I'm really proud of how we've always been there for each other, even when life got messy.
Same. There's this sense of security in knowing that no matter how bad things get, you'll have someone in your corner who won't bail. That's rare, and it's something I never take for granted.
Me neither. And I think that's why I'm so excited for the future. It's not just about the adventures we'll go on, but also about the new ways we'll support each other as we grow. There's so much ahead of us, and I feel like we're more than ready for it.
Yeah, it's like we've built this friendship that can withstand anything. And honestly, I think the best part is knowing that we'll keep evolving together, whether that means navigating big life changes or just finding new ways to laugh and have fun. It's exciting.
It really is. So here's to the next chapter, whatever it may bring. I know we'll face it the same way we faced everything else, with a lot of laughter, a little bit of chaos, and a whole lot of love.
Cheers to that. The best is yet to come.
Some questions and answers related to the topic of best friend, building on the themes Alex and Sarah discussed.
What makes a best friendship different from other friendships?
A best friendship is marked by a deeper level of trust, vulnerability, and unconditional support. While casual friendships might revolve around shared interests or proximity, a best friend is someone you feel completely comfortable being your authentic self with. They're the person who sees you at your best and your worst, and they stick around regardless. Best friendships are also built on consistency, communication, and a shared history of experiences, both the big and the small moments.
How do best friends handle disagreements or conflicts?
Best friends typically handle disagreements by communicating openly and honestly. They don't let issues fester, but instead address them head on, often with a desire to understand each other's perspectives. In the case of Alex and Sarah, their ability to talk things out early in their friendship set the foundation for resolving conflicts without breaking the bond. Best friends know that the friendship is stronger than any one argument, and they work through issues with patience and care.
Can distance affect a best friendship? And how can it be maintained over time?
While physical distance can change how often best friends see each other, it doesn't have to weaken the bond. Alex and Sarah's friendship thrived even when they lived in different cities, thanks to intentional communication through FaceTime, texts, and voice notes. Maintaining a best friendship across distance requires effort, but it's possible when both people are committed to staying connected. The key is flexibility and making time for each other, even in new ways.
Why is it important for best friends to support each other's growth and change?
As people grow and change over time, whether it's through career shifts, relationships, or personal development, best friends play an essential role in supporting that evolution. Alex and Sarah highlight how their friendship has deepened because they embraced each other's growth rather than resisting it. Best friends don't hold each other back. They encourage one another to pursue new goals and dreams, even if that means adjusting to different dynamics within the friendship. This mutual support strengthens the relationship.
What role does communication play in maintaining a best friendship?
Communication is crucial in any relationship, but especially in best friendships. It's what allows friends to navigate misunderstandings, stay connected despite distance, and grow together over time. Alex and Sarah's friendship thrives because they prioritize open conversations, whether it's about something serious or just catching up on each other's lives. Being honest, checking in regularly, and showing genuine interest in the other person's well being keeps the bond strong.
How do best friends handle busy or difficult life phases?
When life gets busy or difficult, best friends adapt to the changes and find new ways to stay present in each other's lives. For example, when Sarah went back to school and had less time, Alex understood and supported her through it. Best friends know that life can get complicated, but they don't hold it against each other when one of them is overwhelmed. Instead, they find ways to be there, whether it's through a quick text, a random voice note, or just giving each other the space they need.
Why are small, consistent gestures important in a best friendship?
While big moments are memorable, It's the small, consistent gestures that build the foundation of a best friendship. Things like weekly coffee dates, random check ins, or being there during an off day show that the friendship is valued. In Alex and Sarah's case, their regular hangouts and spontaneous conversations created a sense of stability and trust. These small moments strengthen the bond over time, reminding both people that they can rely on each other.
What are the benefits of having a low maintenance best friendship?
A low maintenance best friendship is one where both people trust the strength of the bond without needing constant validation. Alex and Sarah's friendship is low maintenance in the sense that they don't need to talk every day to feel connected. They know that even if they go a while without catching up, their friendship remains solid. This level of trust and understanding allows the friendship to thrive without pressure, making it easier to navigate the demands of life while staying close.
What do best friends do during hard times?
Best friends provide emotional support during hard times by simply being there, whether that's through a listening, offering advice, or just sharing space. Alex and Sarah talked about how during rough patches, they didn't always need to fix each other's problems. They just needed to be present for one another. Sometimes sitting in silence or doing something simple, like watching a movie, can be enough to show support. Best friends offer comfort without the expectation of solving everything.
Can a best friendship last through all of life's changes?
Yes, a best friendship can last through life's many changes, but it requires adaptability and mutual respect for each other's growth. Alex and Sarah's friendship is a great example of this. They've gone through different phases in life, but they've always made an effort to stay connected and support one another. As long as both friends are committed to evolving together and communicating openly, a best friendship can withstand anything.
How does vulnerability strengthen a best friendship?
Vulnerability is key to deepening a best friendship. Sharing fears, insecurities, or personal challenges allows best friends to connect on a more meaningful level. When Alex and Sarah discussed their anxieties about life changes, it brought them closer. By being vulnerable, they created a safe space where they could be their true selves without judgment. This openness fosters trust and empathy, allowing the friendship to grow deeper over time.
Why is it important for best friends to create shared experiences?
Shared experiences create memories and strengthen the bond between best friends. Whether it's a spontaneous road trip, attending a concert, or just a regular coffee hangout, these moments become part of the friendship's foundation. For Alex and Sarah, those late night chats, adventures, and even small traditions like their brunch meetups helped solidify their connection. These experiences provide stories to reminisce about and reinforce the closeness between friends.